Neil Haley Show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. I'm so glad I could say Greg Hanna because, Greg, you've missed some celebrity interviews, but I have you today. You're very busy at Toss C3, and you're really excited about our guest, right?
I really am. I'm a huge fan of Karate Kid and Cobra Kai. So what could be better?
Yes, we got the bully from Cobra Kai, Ron Thomas, actor, author, inspirational in so many ways. Ron, thanks for stopping by. And like I said, I've added, you reminded me of the people I've had: Sean Kanan, Marty Cove, Marty's son, all part of the Cobra Kai brand. And, who knows who'll be next on that list for sure. But I'm so glad to add you to that component. But, Greg, go ahead with your first question.
Yeah, great to meet you, Ron. But tell me, what was it like being cast as Bobby Brown in The Karate Kid?
Uh, well, it was awesome because, you're a young guy, you're an actor in Hollywood pursuing your dreams, and it's tough out there. It still is. Nothing's changed. Um, but when you're that young and you're really hungry, and it was just amazing. And the story goes, I've told it a million times, but I'll say it here, that I was a black belt. And
Uh-huh.
I was already a second degree black belt in Kodokan Jiu-Jitsu. And so when I got the audition, the first thing I thought was, man, that's a stupid title for a movie, The Karate Kid. Um, but then I found out who was behind it and everything. And when I went on the audition initially, they said, don't say anything about your black belt. And I said, what are you talking about? It's the movie's called The Karate Kid. Why wouldn't I tell them I'm a black belt? And they said, if they ask you, say something. But if they don't, because they're looking for actors first. They're going to train you anyway. They just want to know that you're athletic. So I had to keep my mouth shut for a while. Until even after I got the part, nobody really knew until Pat Johnson kind of figured it out.
So being a black belt and then you're going and training with them and you could kill them, right? Not kill them, but you could beat them up pretty easily.
I,
It's pretty interesting in that process of what you play, and then especially in the competition, how you could dominate a lot of people.
yeah, I could definitely crush my fellow cast members, but I love them all. Chad McQueen would probably differ because he had trained with Pat Johnson a little bit in the martial arts. But yeah, the tournament scenes, I was fortunate because Pat Johnson appreciated the fact that I was a black belt. He appreciated how I moved, and he was so busy, choreographing all the of these fight scenes that he said, "Hey, Ron, here's a black belt. These were extras. They were black belts from around the LA area that they had brought in." And he said, "Here's a black belt here, and here's a black belt here. I want you to take these two guys and go choreograph your own fight scenes, and then bring it to me for approval." And so the fight scenes you see me doing in the montage at the tournament was actually my stuff, my choreography. So that was,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
That's very cool. Did you ever imagine the film would become such a cultural phenomenon?
No idea. Back then we didn't have streaming video. We didn't even have cell phones. So, all of that stuff helped push it, but it became a phenomenon, right from the beginning, really. I was told by my own manager that the movie didn't have an audience. And then I went to do an interview back in Reno, Nevada, which was my hometown, a television interview with a film critic guy. And he said, this movie doesn't have a demographic. It doesn't have an audience. I said, oh, okay, we'll see, and they were pretty wrong. But
And you said you were an actor before this, right? So this
yeah,
is
I had started acting in Reno doing theater and then decided to move to Los Angeles to pursue it full time. So,
Wow. How
yeah.
much of Bobby Brown's personality was inspired by you personally?
Quite a bit. My personality, my who I am, kind of aligns with Bobby in a way because I love martial arts. I love to train and everything, but I also, as you said, I'm into motivation and inspiration and being a motivational speaker and that kind of thing, and being helpful to humanity, right? In my own way. And I think Bobby, being the good bad guy, of the Cobra Kai kind of aligns with my character for, who I am as a person, for sure.
The good bad guy. That's an
Yeah.
interesting definition of that, right?
Yeah.
Especially you were stuck in that. And do you think that storyline was really panned out in Karate Kid, or it really Cobra Kai kind of explained it, right? And so, anyways,
No,
the
if you watch the original movie, Bobby stood up to Kreese. There's a scene here. This explains Bobby. Okay, there's a scene after he disqualifies himself because Kreese wanted him to, and he goes out and he takes Daniel's knee out. And then there's a scene that we filmed that didn't get used because they wanted me to come back for Karate Kid 2 in the parking lot. So they didn't use this scene. But what I do is I'm literally crying and ashamed of myself, and I walk across the tournament floor, take my black belt off, throw it at Kreese's feet, and walk out. And you can see that on YouTube. I think it's been released on YouTube. But that explains who Bobby is. He said, he'd had enough. He was very conflicted because he loved his Cobra Kai people. But that was it when he told him when he had to disqualify himself from the tournament, because he really just wanted to win. He didn't want to hurt anybody. He wanted to win. And Kreese had a different vision. So he took his black belt off, throws it at his feet, and walks out. And that's Bobby. He knew when the line had been crossed. He even, told his best friend Johnny. He said, "Look, man, he's had enough. Leave him alone. That's it. We don't need to go any further here." So, that's Bobby.
Ron, do you have a favorite memory working with Pat Morita and Ralph Macchio?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, I love them both. My favorite memory of Pat Morita is not on set. It's, and I have many on set too, but it's when I had my own dojo after the Karate Kid had been such a big hit. I ran into Pat, and it happened to be at a time when I was doing testing for all of my students and all of my kids, and we were doing a big promotion, a big demonstration at my dojo, had all the parents there, all the kids lined up, and I said, "Pat, do you want to come and watch this? Do you want to come to my dojo and meet my students and watch my demo? I'm doing a huge demo." And he said, "Sure." So my black belts had all the kids lined up and waiting, and they didn't know where I was. They didn't know where Sensei was. "Where's Sensei? It's promotion time. We're supposed to be doing a demo." And I was late because I had to drive Pat Morita from Universal Studios all the way across the valley to my to my real life dojo. And when I walked in to my dojo with Mr. Miyagi, you should have seen the faces drop, the jaws drop on my students. So that's my favorite memory. He didn't have to. He actually took the time to come meet my students, watch my promotions, and that's one of my favorite memories of Pat.
So how shocked when you got the call for Cobra Kai, especially when we know the story and the way that it was started on YouTube. People forget that when YouTube read, and then it was like a cult favorite, and then bam, what are you going to do next? When you got that call, what did you think?
I wasn't shocked because I kind of expected it to be coming, and if it didn't come, I would be really pissed off. And initially, I was pissed off at Billy Zabka because he didn't say anything, and of course, he wasn't supposed to. He was, sworn to secrecy as they were developing the thing. And then when the first season came out, as I saw the season being, unfolded, and then Kreese shows up in the last episode, I kind of expected, you know what, they're going to call us. There's no way they can't. So I wasn't shocked. I was prepared. And then they called me and they said, they talked to me on the phone, the creators I'm talking about, Josh Heald and Hayden and John Hurwitz, called and said, "Hey, this is what we think about Bobby. We think that you guys have each sort of healed from your trauma with Kreese in your own way over time, and you kind of dealt with it in your own way. And we think Bobby is going to be a pastor because we think he's still trying to do the right thing and help people." And so I thought it was great, And what I loved about Bobby too is he's a pastor in the series, not a priest, but he's willing to go to a bar, have a beer with his buddies and get in a bar fight. You know? So I just loved it. Yeah, it's great.
So, I mean, along the same lines, and you kind of answered some of it, but why do you think Bobby became one of the most respected Cobra Kai characters?
Yeah, because he was that guy. He was going down the wrong. He was led down the wrong path by a wayward sensei, but he, in his heart, he knew what was right, you know. And Bobby's respected for exactly what we're talking about, for being the good guy that kind of is in a crowd of bad guys and being willing to stand up and being willing to know when the line is being crossed and stand up to his best friend, stand up to his sensei, and do the right thing. And then if you watch Bobby carefully all along, he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't really want, he loves martial arts, but he doesn't want to hurt anybody really. He he's conflicted about, hurting Ralph, or not Ralph, Daniel all the time, So I think people who care about that kind of thing, doing the right thing, kind of align with Bobby and his character.
No, they definitely do align in so many ways, and that's why he's so well known in so many ways. Uh, I'm disappointed Cobra Kai's done. Okay, I thought this can go on forever, right? Especially when you can't find certain streaming series. I know you have other projects too, but is there anything left that you'll be part of a spinoff in any other Cobra Kai's, or that's probably over?
Man, I mean, in the words of, the creators, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So I just don't know, they keep everything hush hush. I have no clue what's going to happen in the future. I think a lot of people feel the way you do. They're just disappointed. They loved it so much. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
I mean, the final season was just unreal. I think it is like we want more.
Right.
There's more story. Yeah.
And that's the secret behind Hollywood, right? Leave them wanting more. Don't go out on a bad note where it's just over. It's just done. You're burnt out, right? Leave the fans wanting more, because there's always that possibility.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
What message would you like to share with Karate Kid and Cobra Kai fans around the world?
Just a huge thank you for your support and for loving the Karate Kid and creating this. You're part of it, right? There's no hit movie or hit television series without fans, and so thank you for your support and for being a part of such a unique brand in Hollywood that has changed lives, literally changed lives, because people have gotten started in the martial arts because they saw the Karate Kid, because they watched Cobra Kai, and that training changes people's lives. And so there's just this culture that's totally unique from every other brand in Hollywood with the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, and the fans are absolutely a part of it, and they're the best. I've been over to London. I've been in England and all around the country, and I get emails and I get social media messages on how much they love Bobby and the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai. And it's just been an amazing ride.
So what's new with you? You have other projects, you have books, all these different things. So let's go through those.
Okay, so yeah, I did a TED Talk, so that was cool for kids, a kids TED Talk, and on focus, and that was inspired by my daughter, I can't, ripping her away from the iPad and YouTube. It's like one of the biggest sparring matches I've ever had, and is really hard. So I've watched my daughter, and I limit her social media time and her screen time. But then I started researching screen time and how much it affects not just kids, but adults too. So I did a TED Talk on that, because focus is obviously a big deal in the martial arts, right? But it's a big problem nowadays with technology and social media and distractions. And the statistics are insane. The average person swipes, clicks, or taps their phone 2,600 times a day. That's average, And so you look at the statistics and how much people are spending on screen times and what they could be doing with their lives if they weren't, or if they gave up half of that time. They could be creating or developing something, or developing themselves or some art form or whatever, writing a book, And so I love speaking from the stage. I love being on stage and delivering those messages. I love writing and content, personal development. So The Hidden Life Lessons of Mr. Miyagi is a book out there. And by the way, people ask me all the time, because you can get it pretty much anywhere. But if you want me to sign it, you can get it from my website. I'll sign it and deliver it to you around the world. And it's just got, that idea was to take the lessons that Mr. Miyagi taught Daniel-san and to take certain scenes from the movie and go deeper. Like what did the movie not show us? What's deeper? What's hidden in those lessons that Miyagi was delivering to Daniel-san? And so that's the idea behind that book. And now I'm writing a new children's personal development book and series. And so these are all new projects, and I just keep chugging along.
And you have your own dojo, right? Am I right on that?
I did. Not anymore.
Oh, okay.
I had a few of them up in Los Angeles area for a while, and I was a world champion martial artist and trained a lot of of my black belts became fighters and world champions and national champions in sport jiu-jitsu, which is not quite the same as Brazilian jiu-jitsu, because it's more of a sport that they were actually trying to get into the Olympics. And to do that, there's got to have to be a safety element to how you're fighting. You can't go around. It's not like cage fighting where you're just moving a person's nose around their face, rearranging their face and stuff. It's not that, but it has the techniques. And all of ground fighting, throwing, sweeping, and fighting, punches and kicks, stand-up fighting, all combined into one, sort of judo and karate into one thing.
Now, Greg, you have your final question, but you might have some more questions for Ron. So go ahead if you do.
I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here. Yeah,
He's ready.
I'm
That's
ready.
great, Ron. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and really love the movies. So tell me, what do you feel is the most important thing in life, the number one most important thing in life to date that you've ever learned?
Oh, that's a great question. The most important thing I think in life is to keep expanding who you are, to keep growing. Because if you stop growing, if you stop creating, it's also another important element. I think that we're born to create, whether we're creating a family or, whether we're creating a book or something, some kind of project. People talk to me all the time about they're just bored with life. What do you didn't come here to be bored. You have a purpose. If you're bored, you're not creating, you're not doing something. The fastest way out of boredom is to get involved with creativity. And that in itself expands who you are. I just think you need to be better today than you were yesterday, and better tomorrow than you are today. Otherwise, you hit this stagnation thing, and then life becomes, at some point, if you stay stagnant for too long, it becomes kind of meaningless. You're sort of drifting. People have no aim, no direction. And so that's why personal growth and personal development is such a big deal. You can never stop growing and bettering yourself and being better at life. Otherwise, life's going to be better than you. It's going to be beating you up. You want to be the master of your life. And that's kind of a longer answer to your question, but I think that's kind of the most important lesson. The most important thing about life is to keep moving, leaning forward, and keep growing.
Excellent. Thank you.
Now, Ron, any acting gigs coming up that you want to talk about? Yeah.
Man, if I had something, I couldn't talk about it these days. Even if you have an audition, you're not really allowed to talk about it. I have been auditioning, and I have been trying to get back out there and break free from the whole Cobra Kai, Bobby Brown sort of box, and get out there and do something a little bit different. So I haven't quit. it is still, it was then, still is a tough business. So, but I'm here, so we'll see.
All right.
Hopefully.
Okay. That's for
Yeah.
people out there watching the show that are directors. Make sure you contact Ron today, get him an
Yeah, come
audition.
on.
Yeah,
Let's go.
exactly. Exactly.
Let's go.
You know, one of my Chris Mulkey's a friend of mine. I'll have to tell him you're reaching out in specific things. He's doing a lot of different casting and different stuff. He's
Nice.
Chris was yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking of different people, connect all those different
Yeah.
dots. Your website for people right now, where can they go?
SenseiRonThomas.com. So that's SenseiRonThomas.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks again, Greg.
appreciate you
Go
guys.
to tossc3.com. Anything involving cybersecurity. Appreciate it, guys. That was the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna, guys. Take care.